Hello, citizens of... My race, the Blog, have a small problem. Our planet has become so polluted, overpopulated, and poisonous that we are no longer able to dwell here. But I, Chairman Drek, have a solution. We are constructing a pristine new world using the choicest planetary components available. So, what does this mean to you might ask? Using highly sophisticated technology, which you couldn't possibly understand, we will be extracting a large portion of your planet and adding it to our new one. Unfortunately, this change in mass will cause your planet to spin out of control and drift into the sun, where it will explode into a flaming ball of gas. But, of course, sacrifices must be made. Thank you for your cooperation.
Cut!
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!
I used to think Ratchet and Clank was just noise. Cartoon mascots with big weapons, some loud jokes, and a ton of explosions. Felt like it was trying to be Pixar with a rocket launcher. My first exposure to the franchise was the 2016 remake. You know, the one tied to the movie. And let's be honest, that game looked pretty, played well enough, but it had the personality of a cereal box. I finished it thinking, this is what everyone was so hyped about? I didn't get it. But then, I played the OG, and I realized I'd been completely lied to. This game was pissed off. It had an actual point of view. It was goofy, yeah, but also sarcastic, biting, and brutally honest. It was calling out greedy CEOs, fake heroes, blind consumerism, and treating the galaxy like a playground for corporate destruction. And somehow, it did all that while being one of the most fun platformers I've ever played. So yeah, today we're gonna talk about why Ratchet and Clank is not only a classic, but also one of the most quietly savage pieces of satire in early 2000s gaming, and why the reboot almost erased everything that made it matter. The Ratchet and Clank remake is technically impressive. It's got polished visuals, fluid controls, modern animations, and it even reimagines the original levels with more cinematic flair. But none of that changes the fact that it completely missed the tone of the original. The 2016 version feels like it was made to sell toys. The humor's safer, the plot's cleaner, and the edge? Gone. Chairman Drek, who was once a smug, profit-obsessed CEO dismantling planets like he's flipping real estate, gets reduced to a forgettable movie villain with a voice filter and almost no presence. Captain Qwark, once a walking parody of media-manufactured heroes and corporate shills, is now just a goofball. And Ratchet, in the reboot, he's nice. Like, weirdly nice. He starts out already wanting to be a hero, which totally erases his actual character arc from the original, where he begins as a self-centered mechanic who just wants cool gadgets and ends up learning what it really means to fight for others. And the friendship between Ratchet and Clank, in the reboot, it's basically insta-besties from the jump. No real tension, no gradual bonding. Contrast that with the original, where their relationship builds slowly with distrust, conflict, and moments that actually make their partnership meaningful. The reboot just skips that, trading depth for convenience. Even the writing feels neutered. The original game's dialogue had this sharp, sarcastic 2000s energy. It knew the galaxy was a mess, and it leaned into that chaos. In 2016, it's all cleaned up for a broader audience, like a Saturday morning cartoon trying to hit its quota of catchphrases. And that's kind of the point. The remake was built to pair with the movie. The movie was built to sell the brand. And somewhere in that production chain, the soul of Ratchet and Clank got ironed out and made marketable. It's not a bad game mechanically, but it's a bad representation of what Ratchet and Clank stood for. And that misrepresentation, it almost made me miss out on one of the most uniquely subversive platformers of its era. Alright, so let's talk about the big baddie, Chairman Drek. This guy isn't just your run-of-the-mill villain who wants to blow up the galaxy for fun. Nah, he's the ultimate representation of ruthless corporate greed. Think Jeff Bezos meets Thanos, but with a worse attitude and a terrible haircut. His whole plan? He's literally stealing pieces of other planets to build a brand new world for his people, the Blarg. And he doesn't care who gets crushed in the process. This isn't a save the princess plot, it's a capitalist horror story. The game frames Drek as a CEO who's willing to destroy entire ecosystems and displace populations for profit and convenience. The whole galaxy is just his playground, a giant resource to exploit without consequence. And it's hilarious how blatant the satire is. There's this running joke with in-game ads and news reports praising his progress, while the truth is everything around him is collapsing. You see it in the way the planets are ravaged, the factories pollute, and the citizens suffer. Yet the official narrative is all about growth and innovation. Sound familiar? That's the game pulling no punches on how corporations spin destruction as development and environmental ruin as success. And it's not subtle at all. Drek embodies the worst parts of corporate America, but in a sci-fi package that's easy to digest. A villain who's so over the top, he's almost comical, but that just makes the message hit harder. What's impressive is how the game balances this with humor. Drek's dialogue is full of smug one-liners about profits and progress, delivered with this fake charm that screams, "I don't give a damn about anything but my bottom line." It's like the game says, here's your evil CEO, and yeah, he's a monster, but also, this is exactly what some real people act like. The 2016 reboot? It barely scratches the surface here. Instead of ruthless capitalist, Drek is toned down to a forgettable big bad who gets blown up and mostly forgettable. The biting corporate satire is almost completely gone, which makes the original game's willingness to make a statement all the more impressive. You're not just blowing up enemies, you're fighting against the idea that profit is more important than life itself. And that's a heavy message wrapped in a bright, funny, and explosive game. Okay, now, if Chairman Drek is the face of ruthless corporate greed, then Gadgetron is its shiny, gadget-packed heart. This place isn't just a weapons manufacturer, it's a full-blown parody of consumer culture, especially the kind that thrives on hype and instant gratification. Everywhere you go, you're bombarded with ads, sales pitches, and people obsessed with the latest tech, even when it makes no sense in context. Ratchet himself starts as a gadget-obsessed mechanic who's more interested in what cool new tools he can get than saving the galaxy. The game uses this to poke fun at how society tends to look for quick fixes and shiny solutions, ignoring the bigger problems. What the fuck? I had something in my throat. Oh, sorry about that. You have a problem? Here, have a new weapon. And if that doesn't work, have another one, and another one, until everything's blown to bits. The gameplay itself leans into the satire. Every planet is basically a showroom for explosive gadgets you can buy with bolts. The in-game currency, that's basically consumer points for destruction. It's like the game is saying, in a world of endless crises, why not just throw money at the latest toy and hope it works? The Gadgetron infomercials are pure gold too. They're cheesy, over the top, and hilarious. But they also double as a meta commentary on how marketing tries to make everything seem like a must-have, life-changing miracle. In a weird way, Ratchet and Clank was calling out how easy it is for people to be sold solutions that don't actually fix the real issues, just like modern tech hype cycles. And yet, it never feels preachy. It's all wrapped in this bright, explosive package that keeps you hooked. But you want to know what the wildest part even is? The game doesn't just comment on consumerism, it makes you take part in it. You're collecting bolts, like cash, grinding enemies, smashing crates, all to afford the next shiny weapon. The galaxy is literally falling apart, and Ratchet's out here like, yeah, but have you seen the rhino? And it's brilliant, because the game turns you into a willing participant in the exact system it's mocking. You're not just laughing at the ads, you're buying in. It rewards you for chasing the next gadget, for spending more, for upgrading constantly. It's satire through gameplay, not just in story or dialogue, but in what the game makes you do. Just like in real life, it's easier to get the next cool thing than face the bigger problem, and the game knows that. And then there's Captain Qwark. At first glance, he's just comic relief. A muscle-bound idiot in tights with the personality of a bad car commercial. But Ratchet and Clank uses him for something way sharper than that. Qwark is the ultimate corporate mascot, a fake hero propped up by branding, media campaigns, and a galaxy that's desperate for someone to believe in, even if he's a total fraud. He's got statues, he's got theme parks, he's got his own line of merchandise, and behind the scenes, he's corrupt as hell. Midway through the game, or in the beginning if you actually paid attention, you find out Qwark has literally been working for Drek, the very villain he's supposed to protect people from. He's not just clueless, he's complicit. He sells out the galaxy for a quick payday and some FaceTime. It's one of the smartest moves the game makes, flipping the hero archetype on its head. Because Qwark isn't just a joke, he's a critique of how easy it is to buy public trust with the right smile and enough media spin. And what's wild is how relevant this still is. We live in a world where influencers, celebrities, and even politicians build entire careers off charisma, not character, where the image of being a hero matters more than actually doing anything heroic. And Ratchet and Clank was calling that out in 2002. What's even better is how the game doesn't let Qwark off the hook. You fight him, you beat him, and when he finally shows up again later in the series, he's still a mess of ego and PR, because that's who he is. The reboot, again, totally softens him. He's goofy, sure, but he never hits that same level of betrayal or impact. He's just a funny side character now. The original Qwark was a satirical mirror held up to every fake leader who's ever said the right things while doing all the wrong ones. And the fact that this critique came from a PS2 platformer, that's wild. Okay, so far we've talked about the big satire, the greedy CEO, the tech-obsessed galaxy, the fake hero with a PR team. But what holds it all together, what really gave this game weight, is Ratchet's growth. And that's something the reboot completely misses. In the original, Ratchet isn't some wide-eyed kid dreaming of being a hero. He's kind of a jerk at first. He helps Clank mostly because he wants a ride off his planet. He gets annoyed, he argues, he's petty, short-tempered, and honestly, kinda relatable. There's a stretch in the game where Ratchet even refuses to help Clank's mission. He just wants revenge on Qwark for betraying him. The level of character friction, super rare in platformers back then. It gives him room to grow. By the end of the game, Ratchet chooses to do the right thing, not because it benefits him, but because he knows it's right, because he actually cares. And his relationship with Clank reflects that shift. In the reboot, their friendship happens instantly. One cutscene and boom, they're besties. There's no tension, no clashing personalities. It's just, oh cool, you're a robot? Let's save the galaxy together. But in the original, it builds. Clank is logical, mission focused, and constantly trying to steer Ratchet onto a higher path. Ratchet pushes back, mocks him, tunes him out, but over time, he starts listening. You see the bond form through friction, through failure, through shared struggle. It's earned, and that's what makes Ratchet's transformation satisfying. He doesn't start perfect. He grows into the hero role, and the game never forgets that he's still rough around the edges, which makes him feel human. In a galaxy full of exaggerated personalities, infomercials, and corrupted figures, Ratchet's arc feels grounded. It's a reminder that doing the right thing doesn't come from being chosen or special. It comes from choosing it, even when it sucks. You know, it's still kind of insane how much the original still holds up. Not just as a game, but as a piece of social commentary. Look around today and tell me Drek's blueprint doesn't feel familiar. Destroy nature, profit from the fallout, build something shiny and new on top, sell it as progress, and repeat. Tech companies dropping half-baked gadgets, influencers selling hope with discount codes, and media figures getting rich off fake heroism. That's Qwark with a YouTube channel. Ratchet and Clank didn't predict the future. It just understood the present really well. And what makes it even harder is that it delivers all this through gameplay. Not lectures, not cutscene monologues. You live the satire. You walk through polluted planets. You buy unnecessary weapons. You trust Qwark and get burned. It uses humor and absurdity to make you laugh. And then think. And let's be real. That's something a lot of modern games don't do anymore. Either they're scared of being too political, or they go so far into the message that they forget to be fun. But Ratchet and Clank, it found the balance. It was fast, funny, ridiculous, and yet, if you really looked at it, there was this whole second layer underneath. And the fact that it came out in 2002, before the term late-stage capitalism even existed in mainstream culture, that's not just ahead of its time. That's ballsy, bro. When I finished Ratchet and Clank, I sat there thinking, how the hell did this game go that hard? It didn't have to. It could have been just another fun mascot platformer. Jump here, shoot that, save the galaxy, roll credits. But instead, it wrapped up a galaxy-wide roast of corporate greed, consumerism, propaganda, and fake celebrity culture. And made it fun. That's rare. Especially in an era where most games were still trying to figure out what tone even was. And yeah, maybe I came into the series the wrong way. The reboot had flash, but no soul. And for a while, I genuinely thought that it was all Ratchet and Clank had ever been. But the original proved me wrong. Completely. It had teeth. It had a message. And it wasn't afraid to get a little ugly to make a point. So if you're like me, if you slept on this game, or only know the series from the shiny modern stuff, do yourself a favor. Go back, grab your PS2 or grab your PC, download an emulator, and play the original. Not just for the nostalgia, not just for the weapons, but because it's one of the few games from its era that actually had something to say. It hid its truth under jokes and explosions. But once you see it, it sticks with you. And honestly, more games should be this brave. So yeah, that's Ratchet and Clank. Beneath all the jokes and explosions, the original game was saying something real. Something we totally lost in the remake. But hey, the franchise has been going strong for over 2 decades. And as fans, all we can do is hope it keeps that spark alive. If you like this video, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!